It's pretty much a dying art. There's very few people do it anymore. And it's like one of my students, it's her therapy. She says she can come out here and she can work on glass and she says, I don't think of anything else. I just work on my glass.
Stained glass brightens and colors a lot of rooms and lives. The art of filling a window space with an artfully arranged pattern of colored glass has been around for well over 1,000 years, and the same soul-stirring effects are still being created today in a little workshop northwest of Ada.
I grew up on a farm in a rural area and was really never exposed to it until I started seeing some in churches and decided that was something I was really interested in. I painted for years, and the painting really gives you a good background because it helps you pick out your colors and you know what looks good together. It helps you in your design. It helps you in your shadow work to use a darker piece of glass where there would be a shade from a leaf or flowers. And it really helps you out a lot.
Brenda was fascinated by the colors and shapes of stained glass windows, as well as the way their intricate patterns control the flow and intensity of interior light. In other words, she was drawn to both form and function, enough so that she decided to learn how to make them herself.
And they had a Votech class, so I took that first Votech class, and I was so excited about it. I went out and bought all the tools that day, and I started that year, and I just did small projects starting out. And then the next year they had an advanced class. So I took the advanced class the next year.
Some 25 years later, Brenda has finished approximately 150 pieces, a clip of a new piece every 2 months. She now passes the art on to other people, and her affinity for stained glass has only grown with the passage of time.
And I never intended to do anything but just for my own use. And I enjoyed it. And then people started asking me, would you teach me how to do this? So I taught a class there in Ada, and I had a real good response. And then people started asking me, will you do this for me? And will you do that for me? So it went into a business. And I really enjoyed it because the colors change in the glass as the sun comes up and as the sun sets on a cloudy day and a clear day. I like the different things you can do, the designs. It's limitless. You can just keep going with it. The lady that's doing this quilt project door here, she does quilting. So she has a great deal of patience because she's used to doing tedious work quilting. And some people just can't take the tedious part of it at all. But some people just go with it. And when I teach my classes, I let them use my tools, and we do a first project. And if it's not for them, I don't want them spending a bunch of money on tools and supplies that they'll never use. So usually by the end of the time that they get their first project done, they've figured out whether they have the patience for it or not. It's not something you're going to get done overnight.
Stained glass is made by adding metallic oxide powders during the manufacturing process. As many colors that can be found on a painter's palette can be produced at a stained glass factory. Any color can be found, and an experienced artisan like Brenda keeps as many options on hand as possible.
You have basically transparent colors and opaque colors. The opaque colors you can't see through, and they're good for a kitchen cabinet that you don't want to see the cereal boxes behind it. But if you want something transparent, you can use the transparent glass and see around the objects that you're putting in, and still have your visual to the outside. You have to determine what you're trying to achieve and what the design is going to be, and then you pick out your colors. And what I like to do is line them up in a window, and you pull this piece out and you don't like this shade of green, so you put another shade of green in, and you keep putting your pieces together in that window, your glass, until it's pleasing to you. And it's something that you like. Different people will like different things. Some people like brown tones, and some people like the jewel tones. And so you have to put the pieces together to see how they work together, because some colors just will not work together.
A stained glass project occurs when small pieces of colored glass are arranged to form patterns or pictures. The pieces are held together by strips of lead. Whether it's a window, a lampshade, or some other piece of art, the process is the same throughout. While the end product is very beautiful, the process is labor intensive and involves a particular skill set.
You make a pattern, and then you make 2 copies of that pattern, and you number both copies. And I like to color them, especially if it's a real busy piece that's got a lot of flowers, leaves. You can get lost in trying to figure out what goes where. And if you just take a colored pencil and color in the different aspects of the pattern, then it's so much easier to pick up your pattern pieces, lay them on the color glass you want, and then cut them out.
Once a pattern has been determined, the individual pieces are cut with a glass cutter and then taken to a wet grinder where they are smoothed out. Foil is then wrapped around the edges of each piece, a method pioneered by the Tiffany Company in the manufacturing of stained glass lamps.
The foil wrapped around the edge of the glass holds the solder. You put a flux on it. It's somewhat similar to welding. You put a flux on the copper, and then when you solder it, you run this hot solder bead around it, and the solder will stick to the copper and not the glass. And after you solder it together and you have a nice smooth finish, you clean it, and then you can put a patina on it. And a patina is a chemical that will darken it. You can put a copper patina on it, or it's just a chemical. You can put a black patina on it, and then you polish it with a polish. And if it's a large piece, if it's over 4 square feet, you want to put a reinforcing bar in it, or you can use a reinforcing copper between the glass pieces, and that's sturdy. It makes it sturdy.
The combination of potentially sharp glass, heated tools, and friction demands close attention to the tasks at hand. Safety is a top priority, of course. It's all part of the process of creating something transcendent out of basic elements using proven and well-established techniques.
You're going to get cut once in a while, but that's just part of it. It's just little nicks, and you just put a Band-Aid on and keep going. It's no big deal. And some people are concerned about the lead in the solder, but you want to make sure that you don't eat while you're soldering, and you don't rub your face or put your hands in your mouth, and you wash your hands when you get through. Anytime I have blood work done, I have them check my lead levels. And so far, there's never been a trace of lead levels. And I've been at it 25 years. So I feel like I can tell my students, if you wash your hands, do what you're supposed to, you're not going to be exposed to any lead levels.
Brenda has created stained glass windows for churches, businesses, and individuals. She particularly enjoys highly customized and detailed projects that challenge her abilities while also achieving her customers' sometimes lofty ideas.
I like to go into a person's home and see what their decorating ideas are. And some people like things very eclectic, and I've done a piece using real tops and yo-yos for a man that collected tops and yo-yos. And I like to use 3-dimensional objects like depression glass plates in a glass piece. Something unusual that no one else is doing.
Stained glass is also prominently displayed inside Brenda's own home, naturally her own unique creations. No matter the room or space in the McKinley household, odds are there's a delightful color pattern dancing across ceilings, walls, and floors.
I have a piece in my bathroom that has, the glass looks like it has raindrops in it, and when the sun shines directly through that glass, it just looks like it's on fire. It's really a beautiful piece when the sun shines through it. When it shines through, it just really lights it up. I have some pieces that have bevels in it, and it throws prisms all over the inside of the house when they're lit. And my little grandson, he is so excited about the prisms, and he sees them on the wall, and and people are really interested in it. They come in the house and they see that it's different. It's not something they see in everybody's house, and very seldom we're going to see the same pattern at all. So it's very individual.
Part of the reason Brenda continues to teach is the inspiration she finds in her students. That and the vicarious thrill she receives watching them discover the magic of stained glass for the first time themselves.
One man, he runs a bulldozer, and he wanted to take this class because he said so many times a man will retire, he'll sit on the front porch in a rocker, and he just sits there and dies. And he says, when I get ready to retire, I want lots of hobbies, things I'm interested in that I can do and enjoy. And that was his reason. And another man was a machinist. He was about the best student I ever had, because he was used to working with precise measurements, and his work was just beautiful. And I enjoy working with the students because they always come up with ideas that I never thought of. And I'll think to myself, when they want to do something, I'll think, well, why would you want to do that? And it'll turn out beautiful. And so we kind of feed off of each other and our ideas. It's like painting or anything, any hobby you get into that you're really involved in. And I've always enjoyed it, and I've never tired of it.